Okay, hello YouTubers. Today we're going to be modifying this Barracuda from Hot Wheels that I just picked up at the grocery store. Oftentimes when I'm going to modify a car like this, I want to put a big motor in it, and after I've used up all the ones I've scavenged out of other things, I don't find I have one or I don't have one that I like. And so what I've decided to do with this car is to scratch build a motor and see how that goes. I've never done it before, so it'll be a little adventure. This car will have to come apart, obviously, and I'm going to have to do some modifications to the engine bay area to accommodate this new larger motor. You can see I've already made a mock-up of it, and it's a copy of this Hot Wheels motor, but a little bit larger to give it the effect I want. You can see this white one over here I've scratch built from styrene. It's not exactly like what I'm going to build because this I just kind of chucked together, and there's some things I'm not happy with that don't look right. What I'm really making here is a motor top. There's not going to be any headers on it. You'll never see that. That might happen in the future, but for now it's basically a motor from the heads up with the front, with the pulley for the blower. So this guy's got to come apart. Ta-da, that happened. And we're going to file out this engine opening here to get it big enough to fit a motor that's about 7 millimeters long. This opening is about, it will fit the motor, but the blower pulleys won't fit on it, and it looks kind of silly with all that cast in stuff, so I'm going to remove all that, and then we'll move forward. Okay, so you're going to need some styrene, some square rod, and some round rod, various thicknesses. The largest one here is 1/4 inch, smallest is 2.5 millimeter. So I cut a 7 millimeter of the large piece, and then I cut a piece of rod about 10 or 12 millimeters long and put it in a vise at an angle and shaved it into these triangle bits you see. That started as square rod. That's what the heads are going to mount to. That's kind of the top of the travel of the imaginary cylinders would be in that part. It's kind of the top of the V on each side. So you glue one of those on each side like this. You're going to have a shape that looks like this. You would call that your engine block. Now, this little bit is a smaller piece of styrene, again about 8 millimeters long. I've got some corrugated here. You saw in that little picture. I've cut tiny pieces of it, and I'm putting on the side, on each side. This is the blower sides that'll have those ridges you see all the time. So I'm using the corrugated to get that. I'm making the pieces too big so I can trim it and file it to look like a perfect fit later. You'd never cut these small pieces just right and mount them just right. Make them too big, futz around with it some, and later on you can cut and file that to be perfect. This just goes to show that we all struggle with super glue. So now what you want to do is file the front of this block and the top so that it's all nice and flat and flush. Styrene doesn't take much pressure and it files fairly quickly, so make sure you're filing level and flat and not at an angle or rounding it. A little bit in check and a little bit in check. Don't think that you're going to have to grind for a while, because you won't. All these parts are going to get painted. The block is going to get painted orange. All of the other parts are going to get painted black, and then they're going to be chromed with a chrome pen. And after I assemble it, they're going to get probably re-chromed, because I'll make a mess of the chrome, and I probably shouldn't have put the blower top or the heads on until it was finally assembled, but that's how it went. So a little glue on top of those things I told you were the very top of the block, and here comes the head valve cover combo. I want to get it centered on there. It's a little bit longer than the block, just to give it a little bit of a look, but barely longer. It's not even sure that it mattered, but I thought maybe that would look better, so that's what I did. Sorry I'm out of view here. It's momentary. I'm learning this camera stuff. Bear with me. There's going to be more of this build coming up. Obviously, the engine install, larger wheels are going to go on. Some other stuff. Here comes the blower bottom. Remember how I told you you're going to trim off the edge excess and file on it like you did the block, and you end up with a thing like what I'm putting on here. And you'll see it's got the nice ridges on it. It's actually a pretty good look with not a lot of effort. I thought I might have to hand etch those sides to get that look, but this corrugated worked out really well for that. Here comes the blower top, or scoop, if you will. Again, what I should have done was stop with just the blower top bottom and glued the pulleys on, and then when all that was done and the belt was on, then install the heads and this part right here, because I will be marring up all that chrome significantly here in the next shot or two. Now we're going to put a little glue up top for the blower pulley. These things are tiny. What I did was I took a little tube, the 2.5 millimeter, and I shaved off these little about 1.5, 2 millimeter wide or deep sections. It took many cuts. I probably cut 8 or 9 of them to get 3 that looked right and were fairly straight, because it gets, and I did actually file on these to get them straighter, and what I did was I took the nub off of a toothpick until it just fit in there nice and tight, and I used that to run on the file. I did not film that, but that's how I got them finely shaped and exactly right after I cut them. Now you're going to have to let these dry for a while, or hit them with a fixer thing, which I might have done in this. I don't remember. I didn't. I will later when I'm putting the belt on here. This was not easy. I thought it was easier. The one I mocked up on the other engine was, so this accelerator was what I needed. But it did not react well with the chrome. I think it was my main issue with the chrome, despite the fact that I tried really hard to just get it right there. Later I learned a technique of just decanting a little bit of that stuff and putting it on the tip of, and getting a drop on the tip of a toothpick and just applying it right to where the super glue was, and the accelerator is then only right where the glue was, and it's a much neater process, a little bit more involved, and you need hands, which sometimes just a quick pump works, but nonetheless, that's how I did it. So you might see me take the motor away. I'm spraying it right there, and I'm coming back. I'm going to cut this belt first before I try and bring the other end around. I cut it at the bottom where you're never going to see it. I pull on the wrong part of the belt here, then I find the right one, and like with styrene, I just kind of score it and it should break. Glue the other end, and what I do is I keep pushing it around this pulley here to get it so it looks nice and straight and tight. But one thing I realized is the accelerant got some super glue on that top pulley hard, and it wouldn't get up against. I should have shaved it off with the knife, but I didn't. So it will never be perfect, but nothing in life is, or nothing in my life is. So this is basically the motor, and here's where it's going to sit. Once the base is in and the other motor's cut out, it should sit in there nicely. And that's what we're going to see in the next video, is the mock-up at least of this car, if not the completion of it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, and thanks for getting this far. One other thing before I go, I did want to say a shout out to Bare Metal Hot Wheels, JH Miniatures, Wheels and Things, Luca's Dad, and a lot of other channels that have entertained my son over the years, which, while drinking my coffee in the morning, I've watched, and you see the results here. I guess I got the bug. Anyway, see you soon.